At Sports Kick or Sports Bonanza John rather, and on Kick at Sports Kick John. Set for a college basketball Big Ten matchup, one of the three remaining undefeated teams, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 19-0 on the season, getting set to take on the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. We will preview this game in just a moment. First of all, let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for doing your will upon us, Lord, and please look over everyone involved here in this game, Lord. Please keep everyone safe, and please keep us all safe, especially in this path of this winter storm that's going to blanket about half the country. Please look over everyone and keep everyone safe. As I ask and pray all this in your name. Amen. All right. Cornhuskers and Golden Gophers. Nebraska, as I mentioned, one of three remaining undefeated teams in college basketball, along with Arizona and Miami of Ohio. Nebraska coming in 19-0 on the season, looking to join Miami of Ohio at 20-0. They're taking on this Minnesota team that has been a little bit of a funk here recently. Minnesota's dropped their last four, and coming off an overtime loss in their last game to Ohio State. So Minnesota wanting to snap out of this four-game funk, and what a way it would be to knock off the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska 19-0 on the season. They are 8-0 in Big Ten play. Minnesota in conference play coming in at 3-5. And boy, this is a Nebraska team. They can get it done in all ways. They got four players that average in double figures. It's a Nebraska team that averages 81 points a game, led by forward Price Sanford. He averages 17 a game. Right behind him, Rink Mast, averaging just shy of 15. Braden Frager averaging just over 12 points a game. And Jamarcus Lawrence, the other double-figure scorer. Here are the lineups. Bayuk Tunsil and Mast and Sanford up front for Nebraska, with Lawrence and Hoiberg in the backcourt. Bobby Durkin, Jalen Crocker-Johnson up front for Minnesota. Isaac Asuma, Langston Reynolds, and Cade Tyson in the backcourt for the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Minnesota's leading scorer, Cade Tyson, at 20.5 points a game. They also have four players scoring double figures. They average 73 a game, 9 points behind Nebraska's season average. And we are set to go at Williams Arena. Earl Walton, Brian Dorsey, John Floyd, the officiating crew for this matchup. And we are underway. The tip is controlled by the Cornhuskers of Nebraska. Inside it goes to Mast. Rink Mast looking to get free, cannot. Kicks it outside for an open three-pointer to start the scoring. That's Sam Hoiberg with a three from the top of the key. And Nebraska with the game's first 3 points. It's 3-0. Now back the other way for the first time comes Minnesota with their first possession. This is Crocker-Johnson with it, going on the outside to Asuma. Working it around now at the top of the key is Durkin. Passed it off. Shot clock at 7. Across the court. Here comes an open three-pointer. That is round and in for Bobby Durkin. And both teams trade threes on the opening possession. It is 3-3. With it now on the outside is Sanford. Nice pass inside, and the finish for Bayuk Tunsil. That was a great feed. And Nebraska leads 5-3. Durkin with it for the Gophers. Here comes a corner three-pointer that was blocked. Burke Bayuk Tunsil with a rejection. Ball will stay with Minnesota. Now on the outside, it's Crocker-Johnson. Bounce pass inside, knocked away, and a steal and then a foul on Minnesota after the steal by Nebraska. First foul of the game called against the Gophers. It's on Isaac Asuma. Up the floor come the Cornhuskers. Jamarcus Lawrence goes inside. Inside to Mast. Rink Mast, the turnaround right-hand hook is too strong. Rebounded by Asuma of the Gophers. Back comes Minnesota the other way. Nice pass inside from Tyson, and the finish for Bobby Durkin. He's got all 5 for Minnesota, and this game is tied at 5. 2 minutes old. Here's Hoiberg on the outside for Nebraska. And here comes a three-pointer. That's an air ball. Offensive rebound for Mast. He'll go back up and have it rejected underneath. And back comes Minnesota the other way. Crocker Johnson. Now on the outside is Langston Reynolds. Gives it off to Asuma. Back over to Durkin. Gophers working it around the outside. And now a three-point shot on the way by Asuma is too strong. Rebound pulled down by Nebraska. Nice pass inside, and Mast with the easy 2-point layup on the feed from Jamarcus Lawrence, and Nebraska leads at 7-5. Rick Mast coming off a 12-point performance in Nebraska's win on Wednesday against Washington. Tyson now on the outside. And now another top of the key three-pointer. That rims out. Rebound to Nebraska. Minnesota 1 for 4 from three-point range in the early going. There's another nice feed, but unable to finish this time is Sanford. But we have a foul on Minnesota. That's going to be the second on Isaac Asuma. So 2 early fouls for Asuma. One of the double-digit scorers on this Minnesota team, saddled with foul trouble early. Price Sanford at the line for 2 for Nebraska. First is good. So an early substitution for Asuma, as he's going to have to go out with the 2 personals. Second one is also good. 2 free throws for Sanford extends the lead for Nebraska to 9-5. He had 23 in the Wednesday win over Washington, did Sanford. Bounce pass inside. Minnesota now working it around the arc. Here comes another three-pointer. That one's going to go for Jalen Crocker Johnson. 9-8 Nebraska. Nearly 4 minutes into this first half. Hoiberg on the outside to a wide open shot for a 3 that's no good. And we have an over-the-back foul on Nebraska. Be the first foul of the game on the Cornhuskers, and we have our first timeout at the 15:59 mark of the first half. Early lead for the undefeated Cornhuskers. 9-8 over Minnesota. That foul, by the way, was on Burke Tunsil, his first. So a lot of games in the top 25 today. Keep you updated on those as the day goes on. One of the big matchups on the day is in the Big Ten. Number 11, Illinois, will be at number 4, Purdue. Purdue coming off a loss earlier this week to UCLA, so they're wanting to bounce back a little bit. Also a ranked matchup in Lubbock, number 6 Houston and number 12 Texas Tech. That game got moved up because of the impending weather, which is forecast to blanket half the country. Here it is an early lead for Nebraska at 9-8. Students out in their full support in this one. Nebraska looking to join Miami of Ohio at 20-0. Arizona will try to get to 20-0 later as they host West Virginia. It is Minnesota ball following the timeout. And now on the outside are the Gophers. Shot clock down to 6. Long cross-court pass. Crocker Johnson misses this three. Minnesota, 6 of their first 7 field goal attempts have been from behind the arc. And they're 2 for 6. This is masked on the outside, and we are going the other way with a moving screen. This one's going to go against Jamarcus Lawrence. That'll be his first. So Lawrence picks up the foul here for Nebraska. That's the team's second. Kai Shinholster, who checked into the game for Minnesota, Asuma has the ball now on the outside. 5 minutes old in this first half. Again, the shot clock down to 5. Shinholster outside and at top of the key 3 at short, and that will go out of bounds over to the Cornhuskers. So Minnesota looks like they're so far in this game is going to rely on the outside shooting. Nico Medved in his first year at Minnesota has the Gophers at 10-9 on the season. 3-5 in Big Ten play. Sanford gives it off to Hoiberg, who hits a wide open three-pointer from the left side. Hoiberg's second 3, and Nebraska leads 12-8. With it on the outside is Langston Reynolds for Minnesota. Looking for help, gets it over to Crocker Johnson. Gophers continue to work it around the outside. And losing the basketball, but not having it knocked away by Nebraska. It will stay Minnesota ball. 5 on the shot clock for the Gophers. Minnesota to inbound. And the turnaround shot inside will not drop. And a hard rebound pulled down by Nebraska. As Hoiberg will bring it up the floor for the Cornhuskers. Inside it goes to Mass. Mass finds a wide open Bayek Tunsil for the dunk. That's his second field goal, and Nebraska leads by a half dozen now, 14-8. Minnesota slowing it down and working the offense once again. As it's Durkin now with it. To Crocker Johnson. And now on the drive. Nice dish inside, and for the basket is Bobby Durkin. He's got 7 of Minnesota's 10. And it's a 14-10 lead for Nebraska. A three-pointer by Sanford at the other end is no good. Rebound pulled down and tapped out to Minnesota. Working it around, and a three-pointer is too strong. Rebound pulled down by Hoiberg. Hoiberg brings it up for the Cornhuskers. Hoiberg drives inside, kicks it outside to Sanford. Back to Hoiberg on the outside. Hoiberg drives inside. The Minnesota defense kind of fell asleep under the basket, and Hoiberg had a wide open lane for the layup. 16-10 Minnesota, or 16-10 Nebraska leading Minnesota. At the other end, Nebraska defense falls asleep underneath, and it's a great pass from Durkin to Kai Shinholster with his first two off the bench. 16-12, Mast gets inside and will put it in with the right-hand hook. That's his first field goal. And the pace has picked up a little bit. 18-12 now. Nebraska 7 of their first 12 from the floor. Shinholster on the outside for Minnesota as we hit the 12-minute mark here in the first half. Shinholster driving inside, gets cut off, sends it back outside, and here's a three-pointer that is up and good for Cade Tyson. The transfer from Belmont, Minnesota's leading scorer on the season, hits his first three, and it's 18-15. Tyson actually second in the Big Ten in scoring at 20.5 points a game. Mast has it knocked away momentarily, and now we have a foul, which brings us to the under 12 timeout at 11:25 to play in the first half. Pace has picked up a little bit. Undefeated Cornhuskers leading by 3, 18-15. Early numbers in this game, Nebraska shooting 7 out of 12 for 58%. They are 2 of 5 from beyond the arc for 40%. Minnesota 6 of 13 from the floor at 46%. 3 of 9 from 3 at 33%. 9 of Minnesota's 13 field goal attempts here in the early going are from three-point range. Been a pretty clean game. Each team's only turned it over once so far. Sam Hoiberg leading the way for the Cornhuskers early with 8. Bobby Durkin leading Minnesota with 7 points here in the early going. As Minnesota hanging in early with the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers, trailing 18-15. Told you about a couple of those ranked versus ranked matchups. We've also got number 1 Arizona in action. They're trying to get to 20-0. They will host West Virginia. That game coming up a little less than 2 hours, 2 o'clock Eastern time, the scheduled tip-off for that one. Got some ranked teams in action early on the day. Trying to keep up with some of those scores. Number 10, Michigan State has an early lead on Maryland at 9-4. Ranked versus ranked matchup in the ACC. Number 22, North Carolina, and number 14, Virginia. That's tied early on, 16-14 Virginia in that one. So a lot of good matchups on the docket in college basketball today. Number 15, Vanderbilt. They've lost 3 in a row since that 16-0 start. They are leading at Mississippi State 24-12 in the first half. Trying to snap that 3-game losing streak. And Clemson underway at Georgia Tech. Clemson has the early 14-10 lead in that game. (18-14) Nebraska leading this one. Again, Isaac Asuma, one of the Top 4 scores for Minnesota in early foul trouble in this game. As Nebraska inbound out of the timeout, this is Hoiberg. Hoiberg with it on the outside. Off to Cale Jacobson, who just checked in at the timeout. This is Sanford on the drive. He lost it. Nebraska able to maintain possession. Hoiberg misses the shot with the shot clock expiring. And then we have a Nebraska foul on the loose ball. Third foul of the half against Nebraska. To be the first against Sam Hoiberg. Gophers have it. Oh, wide open three-pointer at the top of the key is no good. Rebound pulled down by the Cornhuskers. Hoiberg. Hoiberg on the outside, gives it off to Sanford. Sanford looking to drive. Shot clock down to 10. Sanford looking for some help, gets it to Hoiberg. Hoiberg tries to go inside, but a bad pass, and Minnesota takes it away. Second turnover for Nebraska. And now the bounce pass inside, rejected by Sanford. Followed, no, and rebound pulled down by Nebraska. Great defense underneath the basket that time for the Cornhuskers. As we've reached the midway point of the first half, pass inside of Bayek-Tunsil, couldn't handle it. And then we are going to have a turnover against Nebraska. So back-to-back turnovers on consecutive trips for the Huskers. Langston Reynolds brings it up the floor for the Gophers. Off it goes to Durkin. Durkin inside. This is Crocker Johnson. He lost it on the way up. Ball still loose, and what do we have here? Looks like it's going to be Nebraska ball. I still didn't exactly see what the call was. I didn't know if it was a foul or just out of bounds, but it is going to be Nebraska ball. No, it isn't. It's going to be Minnesota ball. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, we're set to go. All right, Minnesota ball. Okay, some confusion there for a minute. Minnesota inbound here with 20 on the shot clock. Pass goes inside, and we have a hold underneath. That's going to be against Sanford. That'll be his first. Team 4 on Nebraska. Rink Mast, after a quick breather, checks back in for the Cornhuskers. Minnesota inbound. Shot clock down to 5 for Minnesota. They're on the outside here. Here's Durkin now driving inside, and we are going to have another foul against the Cornhuskers. That's 5 in the half for Nebraska. Number 1 on Jared Garcia. And this will be 2 free throws. First free throw up and good. Crocker Johnson over on the bench getting a talk from his head coach, Nico Medved, as 2 free throws are good here to pull Minnesota within 1. Durkin now with 9 points for the Gophers. Sanford inside to Jamarcus Lawrence. Nice pass, and Rink Mast will get the finish off the feed. That gives Mast 6 points, 20-17 Nebraska. Langston Hughes with it, or Langston Reynolds, rather. Langston Hughes. I don't know. Back to Reynolds on the outside. The runner inside the paint rolls out on the shot from Isaac Asuma, who's back in with 2 fouls. And back comes Nebraska, and an open 3 is short. Mast tries to keep it alive and does. Nebraska saves the possession. Now Mast on the outside for the Cornhuskers. Mast gives it off to Sanford. Shot clock at 6. And here's a 3-pointer on the way. That's way off by Jared Garcia. Rebound to Minnesota. And that's going to be a trowel. That's going to be an up and down. Cade Tyson got it in the corner and was going to go up for the shot. In the last minute decided not to, but he went up and came down with the ball. That's a traveling violation. Huskers bring it up. It's Cale Jacobson on the outside. Bounce pass inside to Mast. Mast backing his way in, sends it outside to a wide open Jared Garcia, but he misses the 3. Rebound pulled down by Minnesota. Gophers down 3 with nearly 7.5 to play in the first half. Gophers again working around the perimeter. This is Durkin with it. Asuma looking to get free. Asuma backs it out. 5 to shoot. Asuma gives it off. They're going to have to put something up here. It's going to be a 3-pointer by Durkin, and it's short. Rebound pulled down by the Cornhuskers. Hoiberg over to Mast. Mast gets it into Garcia. Garcia with the shot with the right hand that comes up short. Minnesota looking to save it. They do. Great save by the Golden Gophers. And the layup at the other end is no good, but we have a foul. That'll be the 6th foul of the half against Nebraska, and the 2nd on Jared Garcia. 6:52 to play first half. Cornhuskers up 20-17 over the Golden Gophers. Both teams down under 40% shooting. Nebraska 44%. Minnesota down to 32% on 6 of 19 shooting. Mentioned at the outset, 3 undefeated teams remain. This Cornhusker team is one of them. Also, number 1, Arizona, and number 25, Miami of Ohio, the 2 other undefeated teams in the country. Miami of Ohio got to 20-0 on Tuesday. Nebraska and Arizona look to join them at 20-0. Updating some of these scores. Boy, number 15, Vanderbilt's taking the frustration of their 3-game losing streak out on Mississippi State. Vanderbilt's up 32-14 in the first half. Vanderbilt was undefeated for the longest time, but they have lost 3 straight. 20-17 lead here for Nebraska with 6:52 remaining in the first half. Williams Arena in Minneapolis. This is a Minnesota team that has not been super spectacular over the last few years, but this is still one of the toughest places to play. Williams Arena in Minneapolis. So 2 free throws here out of the timeout for Minnesota. First is up and good. Langston Reynolds at the line for Minnesota. 1 of 2 as he rims off on the second. So it's 20-18. Nebraska in front. Jamarcus Lawrence with it now. Has had a quiet first half. On the outside now is Cale Jacobson. Back to Lawrence. Now Jacobson drives in, spins inside, and gets the turnaround in the paint to go. Cale Jacobson with his first 2 points, and the Nebraska lead is up to 4, 22-18. A wide open 3 at the other end for Minnesota is swished. Kai Shinholster with a 3-pointer. He's got 5 off the bench, and the Nebraska lead is 1. 22-21. Here's Mast. Sends it outside to Hoiberg. Hoiberg gets cut off, sends it back out to Jamarcus Lawrence. Lawrence with a nice feed. Over to Hoiberg. This is Lawrence. Back to Hoiberg. Puts up a 3-pointer off the front rim. No. Rebound Minnesota. Gophers look for the lead this trip. Jalen Crocker Johnson will try a 3-pointer for the lead. It's short. Still loose and finally pulled down on the rebound by Nebraska. Hoiberg over to Mast. Mast on the outside. Pass inside. Buyuk Tunjul missed the shot. Rebound to Minnesota. And here comes another 3-pointer for Minnesota. That one's going to go. And that 3-pointer puts Minnesota in the lead, 24-22. Nice bounce pass at the other end and the finish for Nebraska to tie this game. Hoiberg now with 10 points in the first half for the Cornhuskers, tied at 24. Asuma, that's a dangerous pass. Minnesota able to get to the loose ball. Now Tyson. Shot clock at 7. Asuma into Crocker Johnson. Crocker Johnson gives it off in the corner for a 3-pointer. That's going to go. Minnesota heating up from long range. And the Gophers lead by 3, 27-24. And we have a whistle and a stoppage of play, which will bring us to the under 4 timeout. 27-24. Minnesota in front of the undefeated and 7th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. 3:53 remaining in the first half. So Minnesota up to 40% shooting from three-point range at 6 of 15. Boy, Michigan State's jumped out all over Maryland in the first half, 26-9. Spartans lead the Terrapins. There's still 10 minutes to play in the first half in that game in East Lansing. (30-19) lead for Virginia over North Carolina. First half of play in Charlottesville. North Carolina's hit a little bit of a funk here over the last couple weeks as well. All right, so here it's 27-24 Minnesota, leading Nebraska. .353 remaining in this first half of play. Minnesota is starting to get hot from the three-point arc. 15 of their 23 field goal attempts in the first half have been from behind the arc. Minnesota 6 of 15 back there. It'll be Nebraska ball out of the timeout. Minnesota, a team that averages just shy of 8 made three-point field goals in a game, already with 6 here in this first half. Nebraska with it. Nice pass inside to Buyuk Tunjul from to Jamarcus Russell, but he can't finish, and Nebraska knocks it out of bounds. It's going to go to Minnesota. Rink Mast is wanting a review. Fred Hoiberg says, no, you're still in the first half. It's a look, because if you would not win this review, you could not challenge for the rest of the game. Minnesota ball on the outside. Crocker Johnson hits another three. The 7th three-pointer of the half for Minnesota. Third by Jalen Crocker Johnson, and the Gophers lead now by 6. Hoiberg gets inside and scores with the right-hand layup. Hoiberg with 12 in the first half. 30-26 Minnesota. Crocker Johnson with it on the outside, gives it off to Asuma. Asuma with it now. 10 on the shot clock for Minnesota. Asuma draws a double team and lost it out of bounds, I think. No, they're going to get a Nebraska foul. I thought Asuma just lost it going out of bounds, but they're going to call a foul on Nebraska. And that is team foul number 7, so it will be 1-1. They got Buyuk Tunjul with his second foul. And Isaac Asuma, who picked up 2 early fouls in this first half, sat for a little while as he misses the front end of the 1-and-1, but Nebraska can't save it. On the rebound attempt, it goes out of bounds, and Minnesota will keep it. With 2:49 remaining in this first half. Inbound it comes to Crocker Johnson. To Durkin, back to Crocker Johnson. He hits another 3, his 4th of the half. 12 points, and Minnesota's lead is 7 over Nebraska, 33-26. The 8th three-pointer made this half for Minnesota, already surpassing their season per game average of 7.5. Jumper inside is good from just to the left of the foul line for Jamarcus Lawrence as he's finally on the board in this first half. 33-26, 33-28, Minnesota. Ooh, almost a steal there for Lawrence. And now Minnesota turns it over. Lawrence almost had the steal, and then Isaac Asuma, after the near turnover, ended up traveling with the basketball. So Nebraska has it back. This is Hoiberg on the outside as we're under 2 minutes to go in the first half. Wide open 3, Jamarcus Lawrence. That's short. Rebound, Minnesota. And a three-pointer this time is blocked by Nebraska, and here's a breakaway. Sanford has it blocked, going up for a dunk. Rebound, no. Follow, no. Nebraska saves it again. A 4th crack at it. Here's Lawrence on the outside. Lawrence off to Hoiberg. Hoiberg passes up on the 3, drives inside and scores with the right hand. That's 14 for Hoiberg here in the first half. 33-30, the Minnesota lead down to 3. Final minute, first half. Bounce pass stolen by Nebraska. Lawrence. And that's going to be an offensive foul as he pushed off. Jamarcus Lawrence pushed off. That's going to be his 2nd. Now we have a timeout called by Minnesota. Minnesota using their use it or lose it first half timeout. With 47.6 to go in the first half. Folks, do want to mention at the half, I'm going to briefly pause the live stream going into halftime. We'll be back just prior to the second half, run down some first half stats. Get you ready for half number 2 as Minnesota hanging right with the undefeated 7th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers here in the first half. Has Minnesota ball here out of the timeout. And it'll be a 3-point shot that is good by Bobby Durkin. Minnesota's 9th three-pointer of the first half. And the lead is back to 6. Shot clock is off. Nebraska can run for the final shot of the first half. Hoiberg just dribbling on the Minnesota M. At midcourt. Down to 8. Hoiberg on the drive, gives it off to Mast, who tries a three-pointer. That's an air ball. Rebound Minnesota, and the three-quarter court heave to end the first half is off the mark. And the Golden Gophers of Minnesota at the half are up a half dozen over the undefeated and 7th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers, 36-30. Will we have a Big Ten upset here this afternoon in Minneapolis? 36-30. Minnesota looking to knock Nebraska from the ranks of the undefeated with 20 minutes to play in this one. Again, folks, going to briefly pause here on the live stream at halftime. Going to refresh my drink and everything. Be back with you just prior to the second half. We'll run down some first half stats and get you ready for the second half to see if Minnesota can hold on for another 20 minutes and knock off the 7th-ranked and undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's 36-30, Minnesota at the half. Brief pause. Back with you here in about 10 minutes.